more powerful than all of that, as he calls us to unite together in him. That's why I chose this image to begin this whole concept of unity. It's not about race. It's not about what language you use. It's not about preferences. It's not about anything else. It's all about joining together in him. And again, in this image, can you tell what their attitudes are? Not at all. And that's exactly the point. Get rid of the attitudes. Anybody know what those are? I'm going to take you back into Genesis because to me, not only is it the powerful story of the fall into sin, it's a story about why it continues even today. It starts with this image of Adam and Eve. After the fall, that's not the point. The fall, yeah, they fell. That was Satan. That was Satan, who's still very much at work in our lives today. But it's what they did with it that is so important. Adam and Eve hear God walking in the garden. They hear Jesus walking in the garden. And they hid from him. I'm just going to stop there. What good is that? Can anybody hide from God? I mean, Adam and Eve were this close to perfect, right? And yet they tried to hide from God. So do we. God says, "Where are you? Where are you?" I love that. Jesus is God. Does he know where Adam and Eve are? Absolutely. Does he know where we're at when we're caught in something we shouldn't be doing? All God's people said, yes. So what are we trying to hide? Adam goes, we heard you in the garden and we were afraid because we were naked. I read that over and over again and I just kind of have to laugh. Jesus says, who told you you were naked? I mean, this isn't the king's garment, right? I mean, if you're standing there naked, wouldn't you know it? So go deeper in this and understand it. God had created Adam and Eve with an attitude. Where were they looking? What happened with the fall into sin? Where did their focus now turn? Whoa, I'm naked. Who told you you were naked? And here it starts. Adam says, well, you know that woman you gave me? Everybody knows it's always God's fault, right? Good place to start. What about you, Eve? Who are you going to blame? Well, it was the serpent. The serpent gave me the fruit, and I did what the serpent said, so it's the serpent's fault. Welcome to what happens to the unity of God. We play what's called simply the blame game. And I know you know exactly what that is because we've all played it. Putting the focus on somebody else, it's not my fault. And if nobody else is around, let's put it on somebody that can handle it. It's God's fault. So God says to Adam and Eve, because you have done this, I am going to put enmity between you and the serpent. Now, in confirmation class, I use this a lot. When was the last time you used a word like enmity in a sentence? And yet we read it and just go right on. Enmity literally means hostility. It also is translated a hatred. I'm going to give you one that I think really helps define it even more. God says, I'm going to put conflict between you and the serpent. And every time you see a serpent, most women, what do you do when you see a snake? Guys, I'm going to give you the opportunity not to look to your spouse or those near you. What do you do when you see a snake? That's what he's talking about. That when you see a serpent, you are going to respond not like, oh, how beautiful, but you will respond in conflict. How is that known? Look at the words of Adam. I was afraid, so I hid. We've already hit that last one. You can't hide from God. But look at the first part of that. I heard you and I was afraid. If you could put it in your mind, over this last week, that every step you took, God was right there beside you, how would you feel right now? What about this week? I was. This is where do we start with dealing with unity. Unity starts with knowing the other person. That's why these readings come to us. A couple weeks ago, it was Trinity Sunday. We had this image of Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, three in one, and this unity is so combined that you really can't separate the three, but each three is distinct in the way in which they function. Well, we know that, but it's not something we see. It's something we know. Have I referenced that before? Or maybe this image. God, in His love to try and let us understand what marriage is all about, it's talking about two becoming, how many? One. Wherever two or more are gathered in my name, there are at least 6 opinions. No, that's not what it says. That's where we join together in unity for the purpose of furthering Him. That's why our epistle reading for today was so ouch. Not our epistle, our gospel reading. Jesus is doing all this stuff, and yeah, we're just in Mark 3. This is still the beginning of His ministry. And as His ministry is beginning, His family thinks He's nuts. And all those people around Him are going, oh, come on, Jesus. Oh, thank God His family's going to come and take Him away to the insane asylum. Jesus, they're here for you. Who's my mother? Who's my father? It's not about them, because my mother and my father are those who do the will of my Father. Number 2, unity grows when we begin to focus on not what is seen, but what is unseen. If you read any commentaries about Corinthians, number 1 or number 2, 1st or 2nd Corinthians, you're going to realize that every single chapter deals with a different issue, deals with a different problem that's been separating the children of God. That's what Paul's been dealing with all of his ministry. So as we're in chapter 2 of 1 Corinthians chapter 4, he's dealing with it one more time. Here we go. So let me bring us more up to date. Last weekend we celebrated what? Memorial Day weekend. The time where we recognized those who died in uniform. And as we did that, all of us joined together in such a way that we remembered that we were all so united as a nation over all those years that there was never any conflict. It's not what we remember, is it? Remember that even we talk about just wars, we talk about war to end all wars, we talk about all these different things. And through this, we begin to say, we're not united. maybe we're not united in the things we see. What about that which is unseen? It's in the 70s. A young man by the name of Terry Fox, student athlete, had such a future ahead of him as an athlete and a good student. Near his 18th birthday, Terry was diagnosed with cancer in his right leg. They amputated his leg above the knee. Get in Terry's mind if that were you. You're 18. Your whole life is ahead of you. You have all these dreams, anticipations, how you're going to make your mark on this world. Terry's a Christian. He said, I want to make a mark for God. So he made a decision. He's from Canada. He says, I'm going to run a marathon as soon as I can do it, which took 2 years. From one side, one coast of Canada, all the way to the other. He began his run in 1982. 143 days later, Terry collapsed. The cancer had moved from his leg into his lungs. He later died. Terry had one goal with this marathon run. He asked for sponsors. His goal was to raise $1 million for cancer research. He failed. He didn't raise $1 million. He raised $24.1 million. It's still there in the Fox Foundation doing cancer research. In 1999, Terry Fox was announced as a Citizen of the Year for Canada for medical research. Was that Terry's dream? No. What was his dream? To do the will of the Father. Did Terry achieve the Father's dream? Wow. Number 3, unity focuses on the will of God, not just ours. Bill was a pastor. He's a pastor that people thought was kind of strange. In fact, Bill had a sense of humor people thought was really kind of quirky. So Bill used that sense of humor, and he became a clown. And part of his being a clown is he went to congregations all around the country, and he taught congregations how to use humor, how to use clowning as a way of sharing the love of Jesus Christ. One day he was in a faraway town from his home, and the congregation loved him, and they talked to him. Before long, he realized that everybody had left, and he was there by himself in the church. So he's looking around and going, okay, I got to get some stuff put away here. So he started to box everything up, and the phone of the church rang. And Bill goes, would somebody answer that? I guess I'm somebody. And Bill answered the phone. There's a panicked male voice on the other end of the line. I said, are you a pastor? Bill said, yeah, I am. My daughter is dying of leukemia. They think she's not going to make it through the night. Can you please come? And Bill goes, well, absolutely. Give me an address, give me a place, give me a room number, and I'll be there as soon as I can. Got the address, quickly threw everything he had in his boxes, threw them in the trunk, and off to the hospital. Bill got to the hospital. As he got to the plate glass doors of the hospital, he realized something he had forgotten. Bill still had on his clown outfit. And he said, uh-oh, Too late now. He went up to the room, he knocked on the door, and he entered. The dad said, "We asked for a pastor, not a clown." And the daughter, in her weak voice, said, "I like him. Let him in." Bill went in. They sang. He did some magic tricks. She was laughing, she was smiling as she was growing weaker and weaker. And then she said in her last words, "Thank you for coming. You've shown me a glimpse of heaven. I'm not afraid to die anymore. Will you please come to my funeral so my friends and family can get that same glimpse too?" Guess what Bill did? He went to her funeral, and people saw a glimpse of the joys of heaven. Was that what Bill wanted to do? Is that his game plan? No. God took the gifts he had given to him as Bill allowed them to be used. And look what God did. Now, I got to share something with you. Neither of those two stories are those uplifting ones where I'm supposed to tell you, and they both received total healing from their cancers, whether it be leukemia or other forms of cancer. But that's not how the stories played out. God took what was happening in their lives, and because they allowed them to be used, I think that has something to do with this. When the 11 disciples went away to Galilee, to the mountain which Jesus had appointed for them, they saw him. They worshiped him. Some had doubts. Jesus came and spoke to them, saying, "All authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Therefore, wait until you have everything in place. Wait until you make sure all your makeup is taken off. Wait and make sure that you have the appropriate attire on. Go and watch what I do." Oh, God of revival, let's see what God does as we join together in his unity to the glory of Jesus Christ. Amen. Please rise.